Hello, Jeff Green here, and welcome to a Monday market update for Arizona real estate market. This week, I want to take a little sort of step back, and I want to look at the overall economy in Phoenix. So there's been quite a drastic change over the last 10 or 20 years, ever since I moved here in 1996. So we're going to talk about the economic diversification and industry growth review, because that affects where houses get built and where new people want to move to and sort of where the development takes place. So it's useful to me, especially as a realtor, when people ask me what's going on in the real estate market, that I pay attention to these sorts of things, and I do. So this is a little bit of summary. Some of these dates, some of these slides are from mid-October. But again, they don't get updated significantly every month. So we'll go through this. What we're going to talk about is a little bit broader review of Central Arizona growth. It's transitioned over the last 20 years from predominantly retail, construction, and tourism. It was very, in the 2008 period where we had that big turn down, most of the retail and construction and tourism just evaporated. And that put the Phoenix metro area in a very tough spot. Since then, though, it really has transitioned to really a high-tech hotbed here. We'll talk a little bit more in the slides about the sorts of companies that are moving here. It's very focused on high-tech data services, manufacturing, healthcare, and more. So I've got some maps and some information that will illustrate that. There's a lot of interest in big companies relocating here, and it's accelerating. They're coming from overseas. They're coming from other places like California and other states. So that's sort of producing a big boom, not only of employment needs, but homes also. We're going to go through some maps of the valley growth and emerging employment centers, and we'll go through some corresponding maps of planned future development areas, and we'll go through some selected economic headlines. So stay tuned for a different switch on the Arizona real estate market. Okay, so the first slide we're going to talk to is from the Greater Phoenix Economic Council. Like I mentioned, these slides are from October, so October 6th of this year. During fiscal year 2022, the area created almost 11,000 new jobs. We brought in 55 new businesses. And that's, when I first moved here, like I said, in 1996, we always used to laugh at ourselves because we had very few corporate centers here. And that's really starting to change. Here are the prospects of companies that are considering moving here. There's 214 domestic in the United States looking to move here, 58 companies from international prospects, and that would bring a total of almost 5,000 high-wage jobs. And we're going to look at that in a little more detail here. And the payroll generated an additional $635 million in payroll, and the average high wage salary has certainly increased over the years. So let's take a look at the next chart, which shows you the prospects by headquarters location. And these numbers here show where these big company prospects could potentially come from. Let's put it that way. So you see the big one here is 55 from the West Coast. I don't think anybody's surprised by that number. There's a lot of companies looking to get out of California for a number of reasons. Not going to go into that here. 11 from New York, and I think that's sort of the same reason. I used to live right there where that dot is in central New York, and it's cold, snowy, and the taxes are outrageous. Now, California doesn't have the snow, but good golly, they've got the taxes. So this is sort of where the prospects are located from. And the 9 here, these are 9 from internal to Arizona relocating their headquarters here. So look through the numbers, 20% of the prospects are from California, 21% of international prospects, and then you can see the countries down here. So we've got a grand total of 272 headquarter relocation prospects into the Central Arizona or somewhere in Arizona area. That's a huge number, and that portends a lot of growth. I mean, let's suppose that half of those companies move here. That's what, almost 140. So that's a lot of growth. So we need a lot of houses, and we're going to get a lot more employment out of those sorts of changes. So the next chart here, just a little bit more information on international prospects by country of origin. The UK, where I was born, is looking to bring a lot of my countrymen over here. 7 from Canada, 1 from Mexico, and you can see the numbers here. I'll show you a chart here where Taiwan Semiconductor is putting a huge plant up north, and so that's going to be a lot of high-tech growth in the northern and northwest area. So that's where a lot of these prospects are considering moving from. This is the 2015 to 2018 location map of companies that have relocated here. Let me see if I can move that out of the way. And you can see that we have switched. I don't have a 2000 map or a 2005 map. I just couldn't find one. But this is a drastic change. Look at how much data and information service there are. That's the yellow dots. There's a couple up north, a couple downtown, but Scottsdale has got quite a few, and they put another one out by the airport. So keep an eye on these airports too. There's the new airport, Gateway, which is starting to grow fantastically. There is, I'll show you in a chart here, a lot of development in this area. But you can see manufacturing has really exploded in the downtown area, even out towards this little area, which is right by the airport. And that makes sense because you probably need a lot of air carriers to get your stuff in and out. So that's sort of how the industry has transitioned. Let's take a look at the locates in from fiscal year 2018 to fiscal year 2022. And you can see the red dots here. So they sort of show you the numbers and the locations. Now you can really see the red dots here. They're really sort of predominantly all over the place. The blue dots, not so much, but this year seems to me a real transition year for companies just trying to get here. The weather's beautiful, taxes are low, it's business friendly, and it's just a great place to live, but it's getting more crowded. We'll talk about that a little bit more. But again, look at the airport. That's Gateway Airport, and look at the new stuff for fiscal year 22. 1, 2, 3, 4 this year. So that's a real hotbed of development. This airport out here, I forget the name of that airport, but this is Sky Harbor in downtown. This up here is Taiwan Semiconductor. My mom lives up in this area somewhere, and I was astounded when I went up there. Well, I first started seeing Taiwan Semiconductor buildings maybe 8 months ago, and it is going to be huge. There's all this fiscal 21 starters down here. So you can see that the development is sort of on the outskirts, on the west side, and sort of the south and east side. And we'll look at another map here that will be a little bit more illustrated. So this is Maricopa Association of Governments, and this is a map of, where can I put my face? I'll get it off the screen. This is a map of emerging employment centers, right? And you can see that the big employers are already here, right? Already sort of on the east side in Scottsdale. This is North Phoenix here. But you can see where these are starting to grow all over on the west side and far out on the east side. So this is where new businesses are starting to set up shop. Green is 0 to 2998. And these are locations with 5 or more employees. So you can see where this is starting to grow. And guess what employees need? They need homes. So we're going to look at a map here in a little bit that'll show you where the home development is starting to migrate towards and starting to accelerate. This is, let me go over here. This is future development, again, by the Maricopa Association of Governments. And what I want to focus on here is the purple color. And it sort of bears out what we were just talking about, where the development's going. There's North Scottsdale up here has a few approved new zoning stuff. But look at the purple out here. This is absolutely amazing. And again, I live right around here. And you can see out east, this is around the airport, that it's just been approved for zoning plans and designs, and that includes companies, commercial buildings, and residential. So that's sort of what's happening here. Here's Phoenix. But this whole area is typically referred to as the Phoenix metro area or the Valley. It's likely referred to the Valley of the Sun, whatever your inclination is. This side here, I subscribe to the Business Journal, and I went back and collected some of these headlines that come up from time to time. These were early in the year, September through October. Nikola, hydrogen hub, 1,000 acres in the West. That's That's a lot of building. Surprise, which is on the west side, they're gearing up for just massive growth out there. Pinell County, which is on the east side of Maricopa, 1.6 million square foot medical and innovation campus. It's huge. Semiconductor, more news on semiconductors. As a matter of fact, what's not in this list, well, let me get to the bottom first. Electrical vehicle semiconductor industry is eager to build out in Pinell County supply chain to support Intel. Now, Intel, about 2 years ago, just committed to $20 billion of development on their site down in Chandler. Let me show you where that is. So that's right in this area here. $20 billion from Intel, and they're heavily into that right now. Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, they're the one that was up north. Lucid Group, which is a electric car, they're building out south, which is not really on this map, but they're looking for labor, high-tech labor. And the semiconductor, another announcement on the semiconductor industry. So these are some headlines, and these are just enormous statistics when you look at it. This is kind of a unique way to measure the development. This is from the Phoenix Business Journal. It's called the Phoenix Crane Watch, and what they do is they just keep an eye on where all the massive cranes are around town, and it's amazing how many cranes are out there being used to build stuff. You can read some of the headlines here, but you just go through these, and it's just astounding how much business is coming to Phoenix. They're going to need employees. They're going to need, a lot of infrastructure. So that's sort of what's going on in the Phoenix or the Valley of the Sun. So what is, in my view, what are the key takeaways here? Let me get this out. Okay, so a little bit of summary and key takeaways. Central Arizona, Phoenix metro area, also known as the Valley, has grown up over the recent 20 plus years. Like I mentioned, it used to be sort of a resort, sort of retail sort of area. Now it's really just not only exploded in population because, like I mentioned, the weather's so nice, taxes are low, and you could just get outside all year. When I moved here in 1996, there were less than 3 million people. There are now 4.6 million people here today. That's a huge growth. Frankly, I don't know if it'll ever taper off. There's got to be some limit somewhere. Otherwise, we're going to turn into a Los Angeles, and I don't think anybody wants that sort of sprawl. So that's sort of where we are today. I still hear statistics of like 100 or 100 people moving to the Phoenix area on a daily basis. So we're still growing. The economy has become extremely diverse and high tech. That's just evidence of companies moving here and the buildings that's going on. And we've become a major attraction for high tech companies. I mean, we've developed a lot of high tech employment base. So high-tech companies can come here and expect to be not short of high-tech workers. Of course, there's always going to be competition for jobs. And the other thing that has become a major attraction is new highways. You know, it used to be that there was 2 main highways. You had one going north or south, or actually east or west when it gets to Phoenix, but one east-west and north-south. So to get to any of the outlying cities, you had to take surface streets. I remember when I used to travel to Gilbert, which is about 20 miles away, I used to take side streets or surface streets, we call them. It would take 40, 45 minutes. Now there's 2 highways there. You can get on 202, shoot up 101, and I can be there in 15, 20 minutes. So that's a big deal for high-tech companies, not only for workers, commuter traffic, but just moving their stuff around. Let's see. Housing production is still behind the demand curve here. I posted another video of a subdivision not far from me. They're going to put 500 or 600 homes in, but that's not going to happen until 2024 when they'll start putting the houses on the market. But I think housing production, and this is just my guess, I don't have any statistics to support this. I think a lot of the workers have, over the last 10 or 20 years, either found something better to do, nicer to do, or just don't want to be working in the construction industry anymore. I remember in the 2008 time period where the buildings sort of just screamed to a halt until they were torn down or finished. So this may be just a natural evolution of employment. And And as we put in the other charts, home development is accelerating towards the outskirts and near the new employment centers. So you just have to look at where the zoning has happened and where the construction and the new companies are for growth in housing and employment. So that's it. I hope this helps understand what's going on here. We're still growing to beat the band, but we're still behind on housing production. So that's why I think that the housing prices have been so supportive to less than a pullback that what other media people might have you believe. So here's some more resources. You can go to jeffgreenrealtor.com. You can get a lot of additional information on housing, trends, real estate market updates, and that sort of stuff. You can subscribe to this YouTube channel. I post one of these market updates once a week, so you can get those. And if you want a newsletter, just send email to or go here and just fill out the contact form. So hope that helps, and we will talk to you again next week. You have a wonderful week.